Hello and welcome to another randomised gaming video. Today we're going to be taking a more extensive look into the new update, patch and Mercedes Benz DLC for Mario Kart 8. So the first major change you may notice is on the title screen it now says version 2.0 underneath Mario Kart 8. Now the other thing I should point out is the player stats which have now been introduced, which was another complaint from players to see how many coins they've unlocked, how many races they've won. It's a nice little boost. And I think the big thing is it at least shows you what you've done online. The other big change, as we saw previously in the video, is the new shop feature, which basically advertises the new DLCs once you've downloaded the Mercedes Benz DLC. Now, I should say at the start of this video, we hadn't bought the DLC. At the end, we had done. So there's going to be start without, and then later on you'll see the Yoshi skins and Shy Guy skins. Now, one thing I will say, as you can see, this is very heavily advertised driven, this new DLC. As soon as you download it, it's constantly shoving the new DLC at you. And the other thing is it basically adds in-app purchases, which if you're a parent you might be a little more concerned about, so make sure your parents' controls are set up, because if you've got a card on here, the minute you click next, as you can see here, it'll take you straight into the store to buy it. So you can see the pricing. I mean, the pricing is actually quite good for what it is, but I'm concerned that the fact that one of the DLCs is not till May 2015, which is a substantially long time away. And as you can see here, we're going through just to show you, we didn't purchase the DLC at this point, but just to show you all the way into the actual shop purchasing screen, just to show it's now fully added in-app purchases by Nintendo. So it is something to be wary of if you do have your credit card stored on your Wii U. Personally, I would never advise having your credit card ever stored on any games console. Now, what we're going to mainly show off today is the new features. So as you can see, we've shown the playlist and we've shown the title screen changes. Another big feature is the map changes and the Mercedes DLC, which are coming. So we're going to do 3 races, each is one of the new 3 cars. The first one is the 300 SL Roadster I did it with. So this is one of the 3 new cars. Interestingly, 2 of the cars seem to be silver colour variant only. One of the car changes colour depending on which character you use. So I'm going to be Roy for this first race. Now another thing, as you can see there, is again it's really thrusting. So on the character select screen you've got buy the new characters, and in the corner there you've got buy the new tracks, and it really is advertising it. It's just forcing it down your throat, and I really disliked this once I first played this, because it's like, I'm aware of this new DLC, Nintendo, I will buy it of my choosing. Certainly if you're an adult. Most people may be a bit wary of purchasing the DLC prior to launch, because some people may be a bit concerned that Nintendo may not produce the second pack. And they're right to have a justifiable concern. Admittedly, this is Nintendo, so it seems unlikely, but it's a concern that Nintendo shouldn't be force-feeding the new DLC to their customers. Okay, so this is Rainbow Road on the N64, and we're going to take the new 100 SL Roadster for a spin. I must admit, it feels more like a skin than anything else. It is just a mod on the existing variants of cars, but it's nice enough. I mean, it's nice 3 DLC. Do I like the fact that it's a branded car? Not particularly. I don't think it's really needed. I think it does spoil the mystique of Mario Kart, and I think it does spoil the world slightly, having real world cars. I don't think they're really suited to this type of game. Now, I know Nintendo have done advertising games in the past. I'm aware of a few versions. The original Super Mario Bros. On NES that actually included advertising content. So this isn't actually anything new. It's not anything they've done in quite a long time, advertising products, but it's not something they haven't done before. As a few people didn't realise this and thought like this was the first, but this isn't. Nintendo have done advertising products before. However, do I feel that this is out of place? Yes. And it's nice enough. I mean, certainly if you've got Mario Kart, you want to download it now, because this DLC will almost certainly, I suspect, have a time limit requirement for how long it will be available for, and I expect it may well be pulled at some point in the future. And you can't really complain. It's free cars. It's a nice little skins. One of the cars does have lots of colour variants, so it's for each of the different characters. So it's a nice bonus extra. And there's me falling off Rainbow Road. There's quite a bit of me falling off Rainbow Road, so yeah, racing car games is not my forte. As you can see there, that first race we lost. So there's the 300 SL Roadster. It's a nice enough car. It looks quite amusing. Again, do I like the Mercedes logo branded? No, I don't. Okay, so next up is Toad, and it's in the I did the W25 Silver Arrow, but as you can see there, the top one actually changes colour depending on the character. Silver Arrow, I think this is an older racing car, I'm not entirely sure. I'm not clued up at all on Mercedes Benz, so I can't tell you actually much about their cars, but this one's kind of, it reminds me of the old F1 racing cars. Again, as you can see, I highlight them. It's a pure advert, this new... About 5 or 6 places in game now where it basically says, hey, you can buy the DLC, and if you click on it, it actually goes through and buys the DLC. And I picked Melody Motorway for this next track. This is actually quite a good course. I quite enjoyed this one. I hadn't actually played on this one before. So of course the other big change is the map that you can see on the right side of the screen. Originally this was only shown on the gamepad. Now there is one flaw we have noticed while playing that, and that is that the map can only be brought up on the gamepad by pressing select, which is annoying if you're player 1 and you're using a Wii Pro controller, because pressing select doesn't bring up on the Pro controller. You have to have it on the gamepad, which is a really odd quirk. Again, because the gamepad still resumes control, we noticed in battle mode that the player with the gamepad could still shut off the map, regardless of whether the other players were using it, so that it could put the gamepad owner at slight advantage to the other players because they could shut off the map. But fortunately for racing we left it on. But it's a really handy tool. It shows you what's coming. I mean, the problem before, and I'm really surprised Nintendo just didn't pay attention, is that you can't look at the gamepad while you're playing a racing game, and I'm surprised this was not picked up in the QA period. It's lunacy. I think it smacks of more Nintendo trying to implement the gamepad for the sake of implementing it, when in truth, as there's a lot of people have been discussing, they probably should remove the gamepad completely from the Wii U, so that way and bring it with a Pro controller as standard, because the gamepad does not add anything new to the Wii U. It just doesn't do it. It's basically a gimmick. It worked with the Wii, it hasn't worked with the Wii U, and I think making it more console based, I mean, it's not like it was you got the Wii U as a portable device, because if the gamepad had been portable, I think it would have been a serious contender for a console. If you could have played at home and then taken it away with you to play away from home. You can't do that with the gamepad, so it's a weird device. The map is much easier to use on the actual screen there. It's more user-friendly, it's far cleaner, it's just nicer to look at, it's easier to use, it's just a much better way of using it. I'm surprised Nintendo didn't do this originally. It's interesting the fact that they have actually changed this in this update. It would suggest that either they felt that it was poorly implemented in the first place, or they do listen to their fans, so I'm going to hedge my bets on that it was widely felt that it was poorly implemented in the first place, and possibly Mario Kart may have been rushed out slightly to get it for the original release deadlines. And that's the silver 25 arrow. or W25 Silver Arrows, I should say, if I actually read the name properly. It's a nice enough. Again, I kind of preferred that one actually, just because the design's a bit more fantasy based. Well, it looks slightly more fancy because it's an older car. Generally, as a whole, though, I'm not a big fan of any of these DLCs. One thing that did interest me, so the last one we're going to look at is we're going to do a quick Grand Prix race in the last car. And you'll notice there, again, I show off the fact you can purchase it via the character selection. So you can purchase it via the shop, the character select screen, and the track selection screen, the new DLC. And again, show straight off you can in-app purchase. So this is, it's, as we showed before, it's certainly trying to, basically it's like a blancmange, just forcing it straight at you. Now, for this one I picked the GLA and I played as Donkey Kong, but you'll notice I quickly cycle through a few of the other characters because the GLA does change depending on which character you pick. Although I think I actually did the cycling through on the final race, or the next bit when we do we'll be doing a battle map coming up. I should say I didn't experience many problems originally on the online mode, but one of the changes is the patch has improved the online stability. I assume it means less crashes, etc. I personally have not experienced many issues playing online originally. Nintendo's online game code has always been very, very good from my own experiences, so any improvements just mean it's going to be even better. Now this is, I forgot the name of this course, it's Belfast Airport. It's actually a really, really nice course. It's probably one of my favourites in Mario Kart 8. Really bright, colourful. Oh yes, and this time around they also use a lot of front camming so I can show off the front of the car. And also Donkey Kong's rather cool expression. It's quite nice this car changes colour because the other two are both silver, but again it doesn't add in a great deal. Now one of the things we were actually discussing amongst ourselves at Randomised Gaming is the new DLC. It's kind of a weird mishmash because as me and a couple of guys were discussing, first off, why isn't it all... I was expecting like the first DLC, it's like Link and 2 Mario Kart characters now, or 2 Mario characters. And now, a few of us found the Peach and Mario variants in the various suits very lazy. We were expecting something like Link, Zelda and Ganon, which would have been a far more appropriate characters. Or as they're adding an F-Zero, I'm surprised it wasn't like Link, Star Fox and Blue Falcon. Instead it's kind of a weird mix because 2 of them feel very much just like lazy reskins. The other thing we were saying about the Animal Crossing one is Dry Bones Bowser again feels like a lazy reskin. And is the villager going to be male or female? Because anyone knows, of course, Animal Crossing, the human character the player plays as, the first thing they get to do with it is choose its gender, so you get to be male or female, whichever one you want to play. It's just a nice touch. Now, based on the photo, it appears it might just be a male villager. I'm hoping Nintendo will do the smart thing and actually include an option to have a male or female villager. But again, we also felt that the villager character was probably the weakest there. I mean, okay, Dry Bones Bowser is just a reskin, but villager, I'm sure as most people, a lot of people have been calling out for Tom Nook, and I myself would have loved to have played as Tom Nook there with his, and just to really be able to get revenge on all his money grabbing ways. Another one, Brewster, the one from the coffee shop, and of course the owl who runs the museum, who has to be a very favourite character of mine. And KK Slider, the dog in the park. I can't think of the owl's name in it, but again, all of those characters I think would have been much more... I mean, Isabella from 3DS, she's a nice addition, but I feel that the other 2 in that pack are quite limited. Now, there's not much on the tracks at all. The coming soon dialogue appears to show some interesting hidden track suggestions. The pictures show a few concepts. I think one shows Wario's gold mine if you look closely. Should also say one of the new tracks does look to be an F-Zero track as well, so that's going to be an interesting add-on as well. So it looks like you've got Wario's gold mine, an F-Zero track, a couple of one of the tracks in the pictures from what we can see looks to be an Animal Crossing town one, and there's a hidden one and a few other bits. I suspect all the images you see are currently working concepts, so I don't expect necessarily they'll be final, but that's what a few of the images show, as you can see when you actually go to purchase it. Aside from that, everything's really up in the air and just guessing. I suspect it really is wait and see at the minute, and I suspect it seems Nintendo have been drip feeding us Smash Bros content for the past I've lost track of how long, but yeah, Nintendo, please stop it. It's not helping anyone. I just want the release of the game. I'm not too fussed about what's in it till it comes out. I never quite understood the hype wagon of just spending ages hyping something up. There's not any point. You can't see it till you play it. So, and if anything, in Capcom's case, there was a hilarious example in Super Street Fighter 4 where on the Xbox 360 and PS3 where they planned up this huge, they delayed the game, so it was originally going to come out in February, and then they delayed it to about, I can't remember, it was sort of August time, I think, for the Super Edition. Basically, were doing it so it was purely a media build-up, and what happened was about 2 days after they delayed it, someone leaked the full list of characters that made the whole media build-up quite hilarious, because every time someone they announced a new character, it says, oh, this was another one on this list, and it quickly became apparent that this list that had been leaked was actually the full list. So going into we're going to check out the battle mode after this race, and as you can see, I'm just going to start picking the various coloured cars, and if you notice, the GL1 changes colour. It's a nice little touch for the various characters. It's probably the nicest one of the DLC cars in terms of, because it does that. I still think the silver arrow looks the nicest in terms of sort of matching the Mario Kart world, but I think the fact it changes colour is quite a nice touch per character. So we're going to actually look into battle mode, and one thing you will notice, I picked Yoshi's Valley so we could show off the stage that we'd had issues with before where it was a bit convoluted trying to find characters. It's much easier now on the map, but as you mentioned a little way in, I just quickly turn off the map so it goes back to the gamepad only, just for about 30 seconds, so people could see that you can still do that on the gamepad, which is ludicrous. I don't know why in battle mode, certainly if you're playing two-player, the map isn't pinned to the centre of the screen and the player can't disable it, because of course only one player can see the gamepad, the other players can't, unless you sort of look over, and then you can't see what's going on screen. So it was a bizarre idea in the first place, it really was. And another grumble a lot of people have been complaining is the fact that they haven't done specific battle mode courses, and again, I agree with that, and said before, these tracks just do not feel like they're designed for battle mode. They all feel more like racing, and they just don't work for battling. You haven't got the space to turn. A lot of the time you're having to stop in the road. A lot of the time you can get like one bit where sometimes you cannot have someone near you, so you spend ages racing around trying to find someone. Now, De Groon actually went out. This, I should say, Riven, that's me. I'm playing as the little baby Rosalina, and Dragoon is playing as Ludwig. And neither of us did particularly well, but you get the idea. Okay, once this race is over, we're going to take a look at the new Skins DLC. Which, of course, is, if you don't know, if you pay the £11 the double pack, you get a Yoshi skin pack and a Shy Guy skin pack as a sort of pre-order bonus until the new DLC is released. And again, just to mention, one of those DLCs is released in November this year, and the next one, the Animal Crossing one, is not released till May 2015. And I'm partly going to have to guess that the reason for such delay is that they haven't actually started fully working on it just yet. But one thing we felt is that 3 characters seemed a bit limited. I'm surprised it wasn't 4 or 5 characters, and again we felt that either Link, Zelda, Ganon in the sort of Zelda pack, or Link, Falcon from F-Zero and Fox from Star Fox would have been a better combination of characters to use. Okay, so here we go with the coloured skins for Yoshi and Shy Guy, which are the pre-order bonuses. So I should say this second half of the video we've actually purchased the DLC, and you'll notice you now get little ticks next to the characters and stages, and once you purchase it to say, hey, you'll get these downloaded when they're ready. Must admit, one thing I'm debating is to actually practice scripting my commentary instead of just going live by the wire as I'm currently doing, but it makes for some interesting commentary. As you can see, you'll notice it now says already purchased, please wait until release, and it won't let you purchase it once you get to this point. Interestingly, while we were purchasing it, we actually had quite a major issue in that went to the purchase screen, downloaded it, and during the download it initially stalled and said unable to process. Now at that point the game would still let you run through and buy the DLC, we noticed, but we checked our account manager, so we didn't go through a second time. We went into the DLC store properly, not via in-game, via the Wii U menu, and we discovered that sure enough it had actually been registered that we'd purchased the DLC, but just the download had failed. But you have to be slightly wary of that because it could cause all sorts of problems if you go through twice on the in-game store. So the in-game store hadn't picked up, it had downloaded. The transactions had gone through but it hadn't downloaded, but basically when we went to the Wii U store and checked our transaction history, you could see that the DLC was there, and that we then just had to re-download it via the store because it recognised that we'd purchased it. We did so, and then the skins unlocked. But that's one issue Nintendo might want to work on. To be fair to Nintendo, I've had the same issue occur on PSN, where it cuts in the middle of a transaction, and then you check your download history and it's actually registered the transaction's gone through and paid the money, but you've not downloaded, the system hasn't downloaded it, but by all accounts it looks like the transaction's failed completely when it hasn't actually. So for this last one we decided to go for a verse race on the Rainbow Road. This is the new Rainbow Road, just to show off that we've actually done it all now. And I am Red Angry Yoshi, as I like to call him, and I believe Dragoon was an Orange Shy Guy. If I can just check when this loads up. Yep, there we go, Orange Shy Guy. So Red Yoshi, Orange Shy Guy. I mean, there's quite a few colours. You get 9 colours in total, 8 new ones. Yes, 8 for each. 8 new ones for each, and you get the original colour. So it's a nice little bonus. I saw a few people tweeting on forums saying, wow, it's worth it for the various coloured Yoshis, £11. I disagree slightly there, but it's a nice little bonus for the fact that you pre-ordered the DLC. And now one thing you will notice is I'm Red Yoshi and Dragoon was Orange Shy Guy, I said earlier. I fail spectacularly at this race. Dragoon goes on to win it, so you can laugh at the contrasting difference of us at the minute. There's a lot of falling off. I mean, actually, I always find all these Rainbow Roads a bit disappointing because the original Rainbow Road had constant drops throughout the whole course on the Super Nintendo version, and I'm disappointed that this one doesn't have constant drops. Often it does actually have railings, so it's a little bit disappointing. They feel like they've lessened Rainbow Road since the original outing. It's the only course that's appeared in all of them, and you know you've got to the end when it's Rainbow Road because it's just sheer drop territory. But again, you can see some railings there. If this had been the original Mario Kart 1, there would have been no railings whatsoever. I actually quite like the space setting. It's a nice complement to the rest of the game. One thing I will say, now that we've actually spent some serious time in Mario Kart, it is actually a really enjoyable game, and in the event it ever comes up in the randomizer, it will get quite a favourable review. I do think there's not the bonus content there has been with the other Mario Karts. We are actually still unlocking some of the race different cars and parachutes, etc., but they're really only minor tweaks, and there's only so many preset versions of them statistics wise, and after that you just get the same one, just like various skins. But it's an enjoyable game. I just think it needs a bit more content. But overall it's a good game. At least Nintendo aren't forcing you to buy the various DLCs, unlike something like Gran Turismo 6, which has come with, was effectively microtransactions, and I must admit I don't mind microtransactions if it's a free-to-play game, because it's understandable, you know, it's free, that a company has to make money. I do find microtransactions in a paid-for game deeply worrying trend, because if you paid £40 for the game, you should not be then expected to pay various small amounts of sums to help get to the end. That's not a very good business practice. I should say it's not a very moral business practice. Whether it's profitable, well, that depends on the various games. But I'm sure some companies have had horror failures and others have had success with such systems. So it remains to be seen how the industry is going to adopt, whether the industry will adopt them full time. But certainly this overall is, as I found, good value for money Mario Kart. It's worth a pick up on the Wii U. But I'm sure, as most Wii U owners are aware, there's still a lack of games being released on the console, and even Nintendo have quite a limited output. Okay, this is Random Gamer Riven signing off. By all means, please stay up to date with our content, and please look at the blog and stay attached to our YouTube channel for more content coming soon.